Alrighty, what's going on, my powerlifting people? In this video today, I'm going to do a little bit of an update of what's going on as far as meets and everything like that from the international level down to local level, as I've done in previous videos. I haven't done the update in a little bit of a while, and there have been some changes that have been going on. So I figured, okay, let's put this video together and kind of get some information out if you haven't been following it. But if you're on Instagram, or if you're following the USAPL newsletter and everything like that, you're probably getting a lot of this information there as well. But some things maybe people are unsure about or haven't heard about, so we'll get to it. And I'll pull up my laptop just to make it easier so we don't mess up any of the dates or the competition or anything like that. So as always, we're going to start from the international level, starting with the World Championships. And IPF is now having the World Championships, so it's a good change from last year all the World Championships were canceled, but this year we have them planned and they are starting to go in the second half of the year. And actually the first one that already happened was the University Powerlifting Championships that happened a few weeks ago in Lithuania. There weren't too many lifters there, I think maybe 50 or so lifters, but again, it's nice to have a World Championship, and that's the first official one that's in the books and done. Coming up, we have a little bit of a change in the championships as they moved around some locations and also started combining some of them. So now what they did is, for the equip side, they combined the Masters, Sub-Junior, and Junior Powerlifting Championships into one competition and put that in Romania. Whereas the Masters were initially separated and they were going to be Classic and Equip, they just made this schedule change for whatever reason. Combining these, I guess, were easier for the meet directors and that timing and everything like that. So if you are someone who is competing in the Equip Powerlifting for Masters, Sub-Juniors, and Juniors, that will be end of August in Romania. Then the next step on the list will be the one that I'm involved with, which is they then went and combined the Sub-Junior, Junior, Masters, and Open for the Classic Powerlifting into one championship. This was going to be in Belarus for the Sub-Junior, Junior Opens. They moved it to Sweden, and so that's going to be the change now. It's going to be the same timeline as far as end of September, early October, but now it's going to be in Halmstad, Sweden instead of Belarus, and it's going to be the Sub-Juniors, Juniors, Masters, and Open. Kind of going into that more a little bit in depth is USAPL, for those that are concerned about that or wondering about that, is moving forward with nominating lifters for that championship. So that's part of the reason why I've been busy, is sending out all the information for my lifters for the Open team to show whether they're interested or not interested, fill out all the information that's needed for the preliminary nominations, and then starting to get hotel reservations and everything like that. So this is recorded as far as July 20th, and the way it works with these World Championships, for anyone who doesn't know, sometimes it'll be a little bit different, but the standard is that there's a preliminary nominations and a final nominations. The preliminary nominations are due 60 days out, the final nominations are due 21 days out. You have to list whoever you want or possibly want on your team on those preliminary nominations 60 days out. If you miss that deadline, you can't add anyone in between preliminary and final nominations. The only changes you can make from preliminary to final are changing someone's weight class, or maybe removing a lifter, or maybe putting a person they have listed as an alternate onto the team. So you can make only those changes to the roster that you did submit, but you can't add anyone to the roster. And then once those final nominations happen, for final nominations to the date of the competition, you can only remove lifters. You can't change weight classes and you can't put any alternates in or anything like that. So it's important to submit your team, or as big of a possible team that you want to submit during those preliminary nominations. For this championship is due July 25th. So that's why we are in a rush after our nationals, and when USAPL decided to go forward to get all this stuff done, because now we are down to less than 5 days to get all those lifters properly listed on there and make sure they meet all the requirements. So if you go look at the Good Lift nominations, you'll start to see some US lifters are on there, and our secretary will start adding more and more over these days before that deadline. From there, the next championship that hasn't really changed will be the bench presses, combining all age divisions. That will be the end of October in Kazakhstan. So they are planning to go forward with that one. USAPL has sent out the invites for that championship, and they're continuing to monitor the situation there as far as whether, in the end they'll send the lifters or not, depending on the situation in Kazakhstan. And then the final one to finish off the year typically, and in this case, is the Open Powerlifting Championships, which is the Equip Championships, and that's going to be middle of November in Norway, and that hasn't changed at all as well. And that one is kind of like seen as the premier one, especially this year, because it's going to be the qualifier for the World Games. And for those who don't know, the World Games are basically the Olympics for the non-Olympic sports. So it is every 4 years, the year after the Olympics. So this year at Open World, and then each regional championship, they'll qualify for the World Games. That will be next year in the summer in Birmingham, Alabama. So those will be the World Championships, and everything is planned for them to go forward. There are countries that are nominating lifters. Like I said, USAPL is moving forward with the championships as far as nominating lifters for Sweden, Kazakhstan, and Norway. They announced at their annual meeting that they're not going to nominate anyone for Romania, and they had already previously said they weren't going to nominate anyone for the University World. That just recently happened. Going down to the next level, which would be the various regions in the regional championships, we do have our NAPF, North American and Pan American championships happening. That's going to be middle of August, and it's going to be here in Orlando, Florida, which is about 3.5 hour drive away from me. So I'll be going to that as a scoring manager and helping out with the competition. USAPL decided not to nominate any lifters for that championship, but there have been, 10 to 15 other countries that have nominated lifters. So it will be, a 3-day event. It'll be, around 150 lifters, depending on who ends up coming from, those 10 to 15 different countries. So we do have a North American Powerlifting Championship. For the North American Bench Press Championship, which was originally going to be in middle of October in Costa Rica, that has been canceled just due to COVID restrictions and difficulty with traveling there and visas. And typically the Bench Press Championship has less lifters than the Powerlifting Championship, so there won't be a lot of revenue to cover all these additional expenses and everything like that. So that one has been canceled, but at least we're going to have the North American Powerlifting Championship, so we'll have something in the region for some lifters that can come and attend, break world records, qualify for that World Games as a wild card spot, and then go from there as far as next year planning out where the powerlifting and bench press will be. The other regions are planning their championships as well. Obviously, Europe has a number of different championships that are split up by 8 division and classic and equipped and everything like that, so you can check out the schedule for that. Going down another level, USAPL did recently have their what we called our mega nationals, which was the open, the masters, the youth, and the bench press. So that all happened in Daytona previous month. And before that, we had, the high school and sub juniors. And the month before that, we had the collegiate and juniors. So we kind of got all our nationals in. If you're living somewhere else, a lot of the other countries are having their nationals as well, either recently or coming up. So, like French nationals is going on right now. Dutch nationals happened recently. British nationals is coming up. So it's good to see a lot of countries having their national championships, getting competitions back, and then being able to select those lifters for these various regional and world championships. Going below that, specifically for us in USAPL, it looks like we're not going to have any of our regional championships that we've had previously. Just, I guess there's too many meets, and the timeline, with all the meets being in the second half, it's difficult to, have our national championship, send lifters to worlds. They're doing some other events like the Europa Expo, and there's a Virginia Pro meet going on, and then also trying to fit these regional championships in there and have meet directors that want to take it on, everything like that. So it looks like it's not going to happen, but we'll see what happens as far as next year, if they put that in the schedule, where it'll be in the schedule, what the qualifying totals will be, all that kinds of stuff like that. But for now, there are no regional championships at the USAPL level. Just to throw in there as well, as far as nationals for next year, since people are always wondering about that, is they haven't announced that mega nationals yet, the location and a date, but they have announced that the military, police, and firefighter nationals is typically in that third week or second week of March. So it's scheduled for March 19th next year in Atlanta, Georgia. Then they're combining the high school and the collegiate nationals. So the high school nationals will go from March 23rd to 26th, and then the collegiate nationals will go from March 27th to March 30th. And that'll be in Lombard, Illinois, where we previously had a Raw Nationals before. So it'll be that same location. As far as that mega nationals, like I said, hasn't been announced yet, but their plan is to keep that same format of the open, masters, youth, and bench press combined in one championship. They just got to figure out where and when they want to do it. And then based on where that is and when it is, maybe then they'll schedule where regionals will be, and then the date as well, if they may push it into August or September, if the nationals is going to be, let's say, in May or June. And of course, when you go down to local level, there are lots of meets out there. For us in Florida, we have almost one every month. Other states are starting to put in more sanctions and get more meets in. So for example, if you've been following, you see there was a big Carolina Primetime local event going on. California is bringing their local events back, and they're selling out in 1 day or less. Like I said, there's been this Europa Expo that we've been doing. So Texas had theirs, and then Florida had ours, and then coming up, Arizona will have theirs. There's also going to be, like I said, that Virginia Pro meet at the end of the year with lots of prize money, everything like that. So there's lots of local meets popping back up, and lots of things for lifters to look into. If you are a USAPL lifter looking for meets, you can just go to usapowerlifting.com and go to the calendar. You can sort by state, or just look at everything and look by date and see what's near you if you want to compete. And then we'll see as far as next year, as the meet directors start putting in more meets for next year, when things are planned as far as local meets, the Arnold Sports Festival, and other things like that. But I think that covers everything as far as the major things that people that were questioning what was going on with the World Championships, where they're going to be, if USAPL is sending a team. People were wondering about the North American Championships, both the powerlifting and the bench press. People were wondering, like, is USAPL going to do regionals this year? When and where are nationals going to be next year, and all kinds like that. So this video covers that. If you have any questions beyond that about a specific competition or anything like that as far as news, then as always, you can comment those below. I'll take a look at it. I'll let you know if I know the answer or how to find out the answer, like who to talk to. I'll catch you guys in the next video.